It is being said that Nikki Haley could wipe the floor with Biden. But is it enough to tear GOP away from Trump? I don't know if you guys watched I think it was the 4th Republican debate last night. I did. Chris Christie, and you had Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy, I think is how you say his name. And I'm going to go into a couple things about Nikki Haley here that I find interesting, that you may also find interesting. I will say, opinionated here, that going into the 4th debate last night, my brain was going, there's no way Nikki Haley is going to outperform these guys on the stage. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's like that oiled up, slick car salesman who feels like he's just there to cause trouble and make people fight, to basically be that bully, that a-hole, if you will, on the stage that just pokes at people to try to get a rise out of them so that they will like pop their lids or pop the top or whatever that phrase is, to kind of show their true colors, if you will, or how they get when they're angry. DeSantis, I live in Florida and I like a lot of the things that DeSantis has put into place. I'm not a massive fan of him in the debates though. For some reason, he comes across kind of sort of like a petulant child, and I don't know why I feel that way when I watch him in the debates. Maybe it's just his face. I'm not quite sure. And then you have Chris Christie, who he doesn't say a lot, but when he does talk, I feel like he's kind of sort of digging his own grave with how hard he bashes Donald Trump. You got to be careful there, my dude. Like, he is really going all in on that, and it's going to hurt him more than it's going to help him. And I learned a lot in the debate last night about some of the things that all 4 of these candidates have put into place in their own states, what they are against in their own states. And I was not aware that Chris Christie had put into place where the kids in the schools in the district that he was over could, how did they phrase it in the debate last night? They could go by whatever pronouns they wanted to, whether their parents approved of it or not. Like, he made that a thing. And I was like, that's interesting to me. I don't know that that's who I personally would want in the White House at this point if he's like that. That's just my thought personally. Now, I don't think Ramaswamy has a chance, but Nikki Haley weirdly surprised me. So I want to just give you a little bit of information here from this article that I came across talking about Nikki Haley. And it was these 2 people that were talking, and they were talking about who they would vote for. And this one person says, Nikki Haley, she's the adult in the room. And honestly, that's how I felt about her last night watching the 4th Republican presidential debate, was that she was the adult in the room. It felt like the other 3 were trying to overtalk each other and jab at each other and call each other liars and all this other stuff all the time. She threw out the word liar once or twice, aimed at Ramaswamy and DeSantis once or twice. Weirdly, Chris Christie had Nikki Haley's back the whole time. And so my thought process was, I wonder if he thinks that she may possibly be the winner of the 2024 presidential race. And so he's kissing butt a little bit in order to hopefully be her vice president, maybe. That was the thought process I had as I watched him stand up for her. But I also had the thought of, it's nice to see somebody not tearing down their opponent and instead giving them props for things that they have done, that they've done well, right? I thought that was actually a good move on his part. But according to this, a word that keeps coming up in regard to the former South Carolina governor, which is Nikki Haley, and U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in President Donald Trump's administration, is momentum. Nikki Haley seems to have momentum right now. She is certainly in a good position, said Alice Stewart, who is a Republican consultant and veteran presidential communications advisor. You want to have the momentum and you want to have peak at the right time. And right now she's got the momentum a month out from the Iowa caucus. It says here that in the last week, Haley earned the coveted endorsement from the influential Koch network, Koch, not Coca-Cola, Koch Industries, basically Koch network. Through Americans for Prosperity Action, its political powerhouse, she will get an infusion of money and help from activists on the ground in states throughout the country. The group defended its decision in a memo stating that Haley, their words, offers America the opportunity to turn the page on the current political era to win the Republican primary and defeat Joe Biden next November. Here's where it gets interesting to me. The very next day, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon encouraged a group of wealthy business leaders to throw their support behind Haley in an effort to get a choice on the Republican side that might be better than Trump. Jamie Dimon's words, okay? All this additional attention means more people will be listening closely to what she has to say. This was written before yesterday's primary debate. Says the more voters hear from Nikki Haley, the more they like her. This is according to Ashley Davis, vice chair of Winning for Women Action Fund, a Republican super PAC that helps elect conservative women. In a statement, she said, her conservative record and positive vision are clearly resonating, and she's ridden that momentum into second place in critical early states. Now, for those of you, here's everybody that was in that fourth debate last night. You have Chris Christie, you have Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. I can never say his name right. I just know that it rhymes with cake. That's all I remember. So according to this, if beating President Biden is actually what Republicans want to do, recent polls offer a strong rationale for why Haley may be the best option to do just that. Every survey in recent months has former ambassador leading Biden in hypothetical matchups by a wider margin than Trump and her other leading GOP contender, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So according to this, this poll was from Marquette Law School. They showed Haley leading Biden by 10 points, basically 55% to 45% among registered voters. Trump only leads Biden by 4%, whereas DeSantis only has a paltry 2% lead in these polls over Trump. So right now, Nikki Haley seems to be the runaway choice when it comes to the Republican candidate based off of some of these surveys, these polls that they have done. Now, the challenge, though, when Haley and DeSantis first got into the race, their main goal for them both, if you remember the very first everything that happened, was being electable options compared with Trump, who has a record of losing since 2018. Biden is such a bad candidate, however, that even Trump, with all his baggage, looks like he could win a rematch with the president, albeit by a thinner margin than someone like Haley. So I feel like the general consensus here is that whoever goes up against Biden is going to win, because it feels like unanimously throughout the country that having 4 more years of Biden is not what the majority of people want. There's probably a few out there who still want that, but somehow it's probably because it benefits them the most. So it's whoever's probably got ties to any businesses outside of the United States probably want to keep Biden in place, or whoever has ties to, trying to go green or get any of these grants or these whatever else's, they probably want to keep Biden in place. But according to everything that's going on, the polls, the surveys, everything else, it does look like Haley has a better chance. Nikki Haley from South Carolina has a better chance of winning the Republican nomination, although Trump is doing surprisingly well for not attending any of the debates. They mentioned it last night. I think Megyn Kelly mentioned last night how even without him being there, he still has a higher lead amongst more voters than any of the men up there on the stage. She did not say anything about Nikki Haley that I remember. She said the men on the stage. I wonder if that means that she knows Nikki Haley has a slight lead over Trump, possibly. That's interesting. Now, a lot of people want to know how she made her money, because Vivek Ramaswamy kept digging at that last night. He kept saying, you're $8 million, you're $8 million, this, that, whatever, like it was a bad thing that she has money. So I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown on that, because it may be something that other people are wondering too and haven't come across the answers or haven't looked for them and would like to have them given to them. So here's the thing. So Nikki Haley, Republican presidential candidate and former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, she significantly increased her wealth after leaving the Trump administration in 2018. Her net worth was under $1 million, but she's since raised it to approximately $8 million. Excuse me, guys, very dry throat here. I've got a floor heater going, which is great. That way I don't have to turn on the heat, go from heat to AC to heat to AC here in the apartment. But I've noticed that the floor heater really dries out absolutely everything. And then I end up with like the world's scratchiest throat within 30 minutes of this thing on. My feet are warm, my nose is warm, but my throat's very dry. So, so here's what's interesting. She has since raised her net worth to $8 million. And a lot of people seem to think that a net worth of $8 million means she has $8 million in cash just sitting around, in her bank account, her savings account. That's not what that means. Your net worth also includes assets and things like that, not just money that you have in the bank. Let me go drink some water. Hold on, guys. All right, we're back. Thank you for the small pause there. Now, okay, so according to this, the financial growth of Nikki Haley from just under a $1 million net, what is the word I'm looking for? Net, whatever. Y'all, my brain is not, what am I thinking of? Under what previous net worth? Worth is the word I'm looking for. All right, it was just under $1 million. Now you're right around 8 million. So here's how she has made this money, right? Number one, speaking engagements. Haley earned $2.3 million from 11 speaking events last year alone. People pay her to show up to places, and that is part of her money, her net worth. Number two, consulting and board positions. Let's see. She accumulated over $700,000 in consulting fees and more than $300,000 in cash and stock from Boeing, where she served on the board of directors in 2019. There's another $1 million right there from Boeing, right? Number three, directorship at United Home Groups. This role brought her more than $250,000, not including future equity grants and other benefits. Number four, book deals and sales. Haley received a $350,000 advance for her latest book, titled If You Want Something Done, Leadership Lessons from Bold Women, and had previously published, title here, With All Due Respect, Defending America with Grit and Grace, which sold over 100,000 copies. Her first book, Can't Is Not an Option, published while she was governor of South Carolina, earned her a $475,000 advance. Now, number five, real estate investment. She bought a home in Kiowa Island in South Carolina for $2.4 million in 2019, which has since appreciated to $4.7 million. It's a very good investment she made there in assets, right? Now, Haley's financial ascension is notable given her modest financial status before her political career, with less than $100,000 in her bank account before becoming the governor of South Carolina. The report also mentions her efforts to assist her parents financially after their clothing business collapsed. So, her parents had a clothing business. It did not go well, as many people's businesses did not go well over the last few years. And so she's been helping to support her parents. She is a mother, which a lot of us know. Obviously, she cares about her parents. She's trying to help them out. And she's not a dumb female or a dumb person in general. Take the female part out of it. She's not stupid. She was able to amass $8 million in net worth based off hard work and what she's done. It's not easy to write books. Now, could she have like ghostwriters who do most of it for her? Possibly. Do I know that for a fact? No. So I'm not going to 100% speculate there. But the fact that she can pull in $2.3 million for speaking engagements, that she can get, advances of $350,000 and $475,000 for these books. She sounds like a smart businesswoman at the same time. And we do need a smart business person in the White House. I will tell you that right now. So for Haley to take the lead in the polls, the Republican polls, does not seem that far out of reach, right? I know that there are a lot of people who prefer Donald Trump back in office in 2024. I did see a headline somewhere that it's still trying to be decided if he's even legally allowed to be on the presidential ballot, or if he's even legally allowed to run, because of everything that's going on right now with him and court cases and all the other stuff, right? Now, I will say, let me see where this other part was. Okay, so according to this, Haley has done a good job of consolidating support among GOP voters who don't like Trump, but she hasn't made real inroads that lead to into that leaning Trump but wouldn't mind somebody else group. That's the toughest thing they've got to do. Most campaigns came into this thinking, we just have to convince people that Trump isn't electable. And it seems clear to me now that they have got to make a case that they are actually better than Trump, because that was the thing in the beginning. You had DeSantis, you know, in the beginning, actually, you had DeSantis kissing Trump's butt, and now he's flip-flopped. Same thing, Chris Christie, all of them, except for Nikki Haley has not really, from what I have witnessed, I have not read everything that's been said about her. I've not watched all of her interviews, but I haven't seen her really try to throw Trump under the bus the way the other three possible Republican presidential candidates have done. Chris Christie, the way that man dogs Trump is a little concerning, because it feels like when he's up on that stage for these debates that he's using it as a time instead of to explain to you why he would be the best for the job, what he could bring to the table, what his attributes are, like why he's a good candidate. He just tries to convince you why the rest of them suck. And by the rest of them, I mean Trump, plain and simple. Ramaswamy, he still feels like that bully in the classroom that was let loose and said, just go wreak havoc and see what happens. And he had his wife there last night, beautiful woman, mother, she's a surgeon. And, you know, he talked great things about her, but then he makes digs at Nikki Haley's kid. And there's certain things that are off topic. I don't care who you are. You don't talk about people's children. If you're a grown ass adult, like, Hunter Biden, that's different. You're grown. I'm talking children, like kids. Those are off the table, in my opinion. That's me. I would never bring somebody's children into any kind of conversation in a negative light, or into any kind of, if I was trying to win something, I would not use my opponent's children as leverage for myself. It seems wrong and sleazy, in my opinion. Now, according to this, Trump has continued popularity with the GOP base. Yet, if Haley can outperform expectations in early states like Iowa and New Hampshire, that momentum could turn things around in subsequent primaries. Then she could parlay that into success down the road, especially with her home state of South Carolina. This is according to David Dulio, Distinguished Professor of Political Science at Michigan's Oakland University. Trump has a stranglehold on it now, but it's not a done deal. That was from USA Today. Now, I will say, I'm interested to see how this all goes. I do like watching. When I first saw Nikki Haley on the first Republican debate, and you had Tim Scott up there and you had Pence up there, and I forgot the names of the others who have all fallen off the wayside at this point. I was not a huge fan, because I felt like she didn't stand up enough. I felt different about that last night. I was not a huge fan of the fact that in South Carolina, from what I remember, which I cannot remember specific numbers, so don't crucify me for this one, but I think it was something along the lines of like, gosh, I can't remember the numbers, but she had a very low educational rate in the state of South Carolina, like one of the lowest for any governor on the reading and arithmetic, I think, reading and writing and arithmetic levels in her state. They were really low compared to other states. And my thought was, well, if you can't even get your schools up to par, like to make it so that these children, once they leave there, have some sort of basic knowledge, then how are you going to run an entire country? But again, that's not really up to her. Now, it's up to her to get the right people on the boards and the stuff like that, but it's really up to the people in the schools to make sure that those students don't come out there dumber than they went in. You know what I mean? So I will say that I like Nikki Haley after watching her last night. And it's not because I'm like girl power, a woman in office. I want the best person for the position. If it happens to be a woman, yay. If it happens to be not a woman, yay. Whoever it is, that's what matters to me. I would never vote based off of if you're a woman or not, what your skin color is, any of that kind of stuff. It's about who is going to do the best for the American people, not for the other countries, not for whatever else, but for you and I and our kids and the future generations. That's who, to me, is most important and who should be voted for. But you guys, of course, do whatever works best for you and aligns with what you need and want in your life. That's who you vote for. So I would like to hear your thoughts on, if you watched the 4th Republican debate last night, your thoughts on all of them. Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie. I think Megyn Kelly did very good last night with getting them all to tone down and hush when necessary. And I don't remember the names of the other two moderators right now, unfortunately, but I think she did a great job. And I would love your thoughts on who you think is pulling ahead, who you think you might possibly be leaning towards. Has your mind changed over the past few weeks, given the things you have seen and heard amongst all of the candidates, Trump included? And would you like to see Biden hang around for 2024? OMG. So let me, before I forget this, I have to pull this up between my husband and I. We were having a conversation and he sent me something with Biden yesterday. And he said, listen to this. And so I did. And the first thought that I had about it was, well, that's not good. And that seems staged. And right now, hold on, I'm scrolling so hard right now through our conversation to find it, because I was like, well, that is very interesting to me, because it feels like this is something that is being orchestrated, which I know isn't the right word, but it does feel like an orchestrated kind of thing when you hear the way Biden talked about running for 2024. So here it goes. So this was on, this is a little thing. It says Biden was asked point blank, would you be running for president if Trump was not running for president also? And he basically said, well, Trump is, so I have to. And my brain was like, what do you mean have to? Like somebody's telling you you must because it makes it an easier win for Trump if you are the Democratic candidate because nobody really wants you here anymore. Like, is that why you have to? So it's an easier win for Republicans to take the White House back? Or it was just a very interesting choice of words to me. And I realized while watching him answer these reporters that were asking him questions when he had no teleprompter, he had no handler, he had nobody to tell him to stop talking, that he did sound a smidge less senile than normal, but he still should not be allowed to answer questions without somebody there guiding him, because one day he's going to say too much. The way he talks, it's concerning. And so I don't think that he really needs to be here for another 4 years, just based off the fact that I don't feel like he's fully cognitively there, which I don't remember if it's DeSantis or Ramaswamy pointed out last night that if Trump were to be reelected in 2024, he will be going in at, I think it was 80 years old. Biden, I think, is 81 right now. If he were to get reelected, doesn't make sense to me there just based off the age. But if for a lot of people saying that Biden is too old because of the fact that in theory, the older you get, the more possibility there is for becoming senile, dementia, Alzheimer's, all these different things, cognitive decline, all this other stuff, that Trump would technically be entering in the same age range. So is that really going to be any better than what's currently there if we're basing it off age and cognitive abilities and things like that? It was an interesting conversation because DeSantis is 45. Chris Christie called him 44 and he got real mad. He's like, well, I'm 45. He needed that extra distinguished year, I guess. I don't know. But DeSantis is 45, Nikki Haley, no clue, Chris Christie, no clue, Ramaswamy, mentally 18, he could be in his 30s, I have no clue, but all of them are like almost half the age of our current sitting president and the other possible future president if Trump were to get into office. And it's like, do you really want... We've talked about it before, like with the Supreme Court and things like that in the House and the Senate. Do you really want... I don't want to say old people because that's not right, but older, how do you phrase this correctly? I don't even know how to phrase this correctly. Do you want new blood in these places? Somebody that is going to breathe a different sort of life into the White House and things like that. It's basically, I think, what I'm asking. So I'm just curious your thoughts on all of this. I personally, based off of what I've seen, what I've read, I think Nikki Haley has a really good shot, but I feel like America thought, this is going to be like, this is going to be not good, but I'm going to say it anyway. I feel like America thought they were ready for a black president. So we had Barack Obama. We had him twice. And then afterwards, people were like, we never should have done that, right? Well, then it's like, well, are we ready for a female president? Or are there too many people out there who won't vote for her strictly because she is a female? So I'm curious about that as well. It's just a lot to think about and consider for 2024. We have less than a year to vote again, and it's a lot to consider and think about and pay attention to. And I'd like your thoughts. So, Squirrel Tribe, thank you guys for being here. I love you all immensely. My glasses are sliding off my face. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your Thursday, my dudes. And I'll see you tomorrow. And I want to read all your comments. So make sure you jump down there and comments. Also, there is a link to Patreon in the description if you guys are interested. Had a whole entire conversation yesterday, 20-minute long conversation that I could not put over here. They wouldn't allow it. The platform wouldn't allow it. So it's over there having to do with women in sports-ish and trans women in sports. And it's a very opinionated piece over there. So check that out if you guys are interested. And I will see you again later. Love you. Bye.